Hit the button.
No,
okay.
We're live, baby.
All right.
We're live.
We're rocking and rolling.
Do we see like if we see if people are tuning in, can we see them?
Will can they chat us live?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here she is, everyone.
Oh my gosh.
It's Diane.
It's the domestic terrorist I let into my home.
She's a good girl.
She's so cute.
It's Diane.
Diane.
That's her full name.
That's her full name. Yeah, Annie's just for short.
I did not know that.
When do I press the red button?
All right, we're gonna go.
When we do the thing.
I just don't want to miss my cue. Okay.
Do we have any viewers yet?
Yeah. How can you tell?
I'm sure Andrew will sign on in a couple seconds.
Andrew, get on here.
Oh, there's a comment.
What's
see.
the
there he is.
There he is.
He did it. Andrew, I love you.
You guys are in the same house. Andrew, I love
him. He's great.
You're like, we're in the same house.
Hey, wait. This is what people on YouTube will see too.
Yeah, hold on 1 second.
Okay, Ron, this is Jessy. That is Jessica.
Jessica.
Jessica's the baker. She's Asian. I'm Latina. Totally different people. I'm the one married to Andrew.
Jessica.
I'm Zach.
That's Zach. Wait, wrong way. That's Zach.
We're doing introductions.
All right.
Wait, I lost my ball.
So there you go. Hello, Cinematary listeners. This is what we look like.
This is what we look like. We're beautiful people. I usually wear glasses, but the
glare.
The glare.
I'm getting some glare.
But my makeup looks good, so it's fine. We're good.
Zach.
All right. Y'all ready?
Let's do it.
Oh, man.
We'll go Jessica, Jessy, and Ash for the order.
Cool.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. And welcome to episode 345 of Cinematary. I'm your host, Zach Dennis, and I'm here with
Jessica Carr,
and Jessy Alva,
and Ash Baker.
In today's episode, we'll be talking about movies that we saw this week in part 1. And in part 2, we will be continuing our food and movie series with 2011's Jiro Dreams of Sushi. And we all ate sushi for the most part. Most of us.
Start with that recap? Ash.
What kind of sushi?
Sorry.
What kind of sushi did you all have?
Yesterday, I had my sushi yesterday because Anaba in Knoxville, they do salmon Tuesdays and everything is half off. And I'm not trying to pay a lot of money because I'm poor right now. So I got a Dippin Roll, which is like smoked salmon with avocado and cream cheese, and then it's fried, and then it has the salmon roe on top, so like the little fish eggs. And if you are watching this right now, I could show you a picture of it. Ta-da!
Oh, that's so nice.
Make it your background. Make it your background.
Hey, there it is. I love that sriracha and that spicy mayo.
Make it your background. It'll look so good.
Whoop, whoop,
wait,
whoop, 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 whoop.
Ah, wow.
This is really a strong indication that people gotta jump on the live stream game. You know, it's
you
really,
gotta watch it because otherwise I was just making boop boop sounds and you don't really know why. So
it's not. We're really struggling with like the video to audio platform, but it's fine. We'll figure it out.
Just jump on there and watch it. It'll be
yeah.
Am I also talking about my sushi or?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay, great. I went to Nama tonight. I spent too much money. Nama's overrated, man. If you live in Knoxville, that's my thought. Anyway, we got a spicy tuna. It's not that good. I regretted it. I could have spent way less somewhere else and gotten way better. I hope the Nama people don't come after me. I got a spicy tuna type thing. and then I got a like crab and whitefish type thing, and it was fine. Not the best, but I had it. Jiro would be disappointed, I think.
Well, he's like old school sushi, as in like raw fish.
Yeah,
mostly.
that's fine.
He's also
Jiro,
charging you
yeah.
like $300, so you know
At least.
at
yeah.
least. So that sushi better like buy me a house or something. Like,
And they said they got like 20 pieces a person, though. I mean, that's like a lot.
well, small
This
pieces
sounds
if
like
you're a
stuff.
woman.
This sounds like stuff we need to talk about in the second part.
Zach, did you get sushi?
Yeah, I got some from the Vault, which is not overrated here in Savannah.
We'll have to
So
take it sometime. Let me visit.
yeah, let me see. Let me double check what I got. I forgot. I don't know the stuff. You know, I got the Traveler roll and a spicy tuna classic roll.
Spicy. You can't go wrong with spicy tuna.
Yeah, it's quality.
Mhm.
All right. Let us talk about movies that we saw this week. Jessica,
Yeah.
you're leading us off.
Ooh.
Okay,
With a
so
bad trip.
I saw Bad Trip. Zach, you want to give the movie info part of it because you're good at that.
I mean, there's not really much info for it. It stars Eric Andre, who is kind of self-explanatory if you've seen the Eric Andre show or anything with him in it. It's very much in like the guise of like a Jackass movie where it's him. I think the plot is he and his friend are driving across the country to meet some girl that he met at one
Mhm.
point or something. But pretty much it's just a setup so that while they go across the country, they're going to just do wild stuff at different places. And so it's a lot of like setup pranks and things of that nature. Tiffany Haddish is just like chasing them for whatever reason. I can't remember why she was in the movie.
She plays Lil Rel Howery. He is plays Eric Andre's like best friend, and that is his sister, and they take her car while she's in prison. And so she busts out of prison and then figures out that they took her car, and then she follows after them to try to get her car back. She steals a police car and then like follows them, and she follows them. So they start in Florida, and I'm guessing like this is how they also filmed it. Like when they did a lot of hidden camera pranks. And that like plot framing is just like for the reason of I think
it's very irrelevant.
Is it?
No.
Like
it doesn't matter. But so they're driving from Florida to New York City, so that matters in that they're going through southern states, and so a lot of the like hidden camera pranks are like specifically they go to like a yeehaw bar in I think like North Carolina.
Yeah.
And they're like the only black people there. And he tells people that like out loud is like saying like talking to his friends so loud that people can hear him. And then just starts getting trashed, just like drinks a bunch, and then in true like Eric Andre fashion, just like sprays puke just like all over, just has like projectile puke just spraying on people, and there are people just like, holy shit, what's happening? And he says, oh, I'm fine, just somebody get me a drink, like somebody get me a beer. And this lady tries to give him a beer, and then he sprays more puke on her.
Is this like a real? Is it a fiction movie, or is it like a documentary kind of movie?
No. I mean, it's a fiction, but it's happening. Like they're actual pranks that's happening. So like if you've ever seen the Eric Andre show, he does characters that he dresses up as like the ranch guy or whatever, and
ranch it up.
Yeah, and he goes out in the city like on the subway, and he'll just be doing like just annoying people and doing like dumb shit to them. Like he'll be like, you want to talk to my bird that's like on my shoulder, and then the bird will like spray water at them, and like it's just like very
Right. Are the
like,
people like
nasty.
actors in this movie though, or are they real people?
They're-
that
they're-
They're real people. It's like reactions. It's a mix. It's like reactions from, so like Tiffany Haddish, obviously, and then his best friend, and then him. Like they're all actors, and then
Yeah.
some of the bits like have actors that are playing parts in it, but there are real people that are reacting to the prank. So there's one that's at a zoo. There's one that's at a zoo, and there's a guy dressed up as a gorilla, but people don't know that. They think it's an actual gorilla. And Eric Andre like goes, he's like, oh, I want to take a picture with this gorilla. I want to take a selfie with it. And so he goes inside of the cage, and then the gorilla grabs him and then just like rapes him, like pulls his pants down and just starts like raping him in front of these people. And then you get like the reaction of the crowd and them being like, dear God, what's happening? And like, somebody get him out of there. And it's a guy in a gorilla suit, but they think that it's an actual gorilla that is like doing this to him. And it's just like, it's all like hidden camera prank stuff. And like Zach was saying, it is kind of like Jackass, but like, to me, the like main difference is it's a lot of like when I was like, it's like nastier. I think it's like way nastier. It's like a lot of like puking and bleeding, and it's like a lot of body horror-y type of stuff. Like one of them, I don't want to give away all of the things.
I feel like you're just describing Jackass. Is it not Jackass?
Well, it's not like Jackass, like the Jackass movies where it's just like a string of different bits. Like this one is more like the like Bad Grandpa movies where they have like Jessica's describing, they have like a very thin plot line, but the plot line just feeds into different bits. So they go to different places and put on different pranks. Like there's a part in it very early on where I think he works at like one of those gelato stores or something.
No, it's like it's a juice bar.
Juice bar, yeah. And it's actually really funny because he like puts on like this whole, like if an actual musical number took place like at a mall, instead of being like, you know, High School Musical where people just like jump in and it becomes like a whole thing, he starts doing that and the people around are terrified. Because he's like doing like a whole musical number and like people are just in the food court eating and he's like has like people like popping out of places dancing. I think so. Jeff Tremaine, who did the Jackass movies, is a producer on it. And again, if you've seen the Eric Andre show, it's very much in line with like that. And the thing I like about Eric Andre though is that he also, you know, and I don't think Jackass does this, but all of the gags are mainly to like make the people react. It's not necessarily to make the people feel bad. Like he's the one getting, you know, anything that's happening is happening to him. It's just more about their reactions. And so there's like something really almost cathartic and entertaining about like something like Bad Trip, because the people, it's never like anybody's in trouble or you know, he's making these people feel bad. It's all, he's just doing wild stuff. And you just get to watch these people like how would you react to this if you were just at a zoo and you saw this happen?
Yeah, it's like he's getting like very visceral reactions from people. And like to Zach's point, like he's the one who's in danger in all of these situations. Like he had a guy that pulled a knife on him whenever they were filming like one of the parts. And so he had like a safe word at the end of the movie. They kind of showed them making part of it, which I thought was also very cool. And he had a safe word for like, if someone looked like they were about to kick his ass, he like was like, popcorn, get me out of here. Like somebody come in and like rescue me, because this dude was like about to like kick his ass. And like that's the thing that I love the Eric Andre show. During quarantine, I watched I watched several seasons of it, and I love it. And it's like so chaotic evil that it doesn't feel like anything that I would enjoy. But like there's something, like Zach said, cathartic about like seeing people getting uncomfortable and kind of like digging into the reasons of why they're getting uncomfortable. And a lot of the times it's like social cues or social norms or like things that we don't talk about. Like we don't like talking about our bodies. We don't like talking about sweat or piss or vomit or all of these things that are like a part of being a human, but like nobody likes to talk about it, obviously. And like you can't just talk about those things in public with people. And so he's like doing these things that are like making people really, really uncomfortable. And personally, like I would always think about like I would hate to be a guest on his talk show because they just like do such crazy stuff to them. Like the chair, somebody will pop out of the chair and just grab your legs that you're like sitting in. And like the whole set feels like it's alive because things are just like grabbing you, or like somebody's falling from the ceiling, and it's just like
there's guns going off. It's real. It honestly has like this element of like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin era comedy, like the physicality of it, because you know it is all about like doing this incredibly physical stunt at times that, again, like Jessica's saying, Andre is the one who is in trouble here. It's nobody else is in trouble. But he does it, but he also just kind of has like this crude angle to it. The best interview on his show that, or at least that I've seen, is the one with Lauren Conrad where he pukes.
Yes.
And then she like is like audibly like this, and then he proceeds to start slurping up his puke, and she just walks off the set, and it's hilarious.
She's like, yeah, I'm not dealing with this. But like, yeah, like bringing it back to the movie, I think the movie is very entertaining. I liked the pacing of it. It's only like an hour and a half, like maybe less than that, and it's like I think the pacing is really good. And the writing is actually really good. Like I thought that the writing in it and the humor was great. They do, like, I don't want to spoil it too much, but there's like lots of white chicks references, and that like comes to fruition in the movie in such a great way. And I thought that was also really good. And so I like I just think that it was really well done. And I was kind of worried. When I was reading reviews, I was worried that people were, going to be like hypercritical of it. But I think the reception of it was really good, and I'm glad that he was able
so
to
fun.
do a movie. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
a lot of
fun.
It's a lot of fun.
It's on Netflix right now, so if you want to check it out, then you should.
Yeah, no, it's a fun time. And I hope he gets to be. I hope he gets to do more of this. Like he's like because his show is so wild that I can see why people would be against it. And he's done like small bit roles and different things. The funniest thing I always think of is that he was one of the hyenas in the Disney Lion King movie. But I hope he gets to do more movies of like his brand of humor, but like on this type of scale, because it's kind of fun to see.
Yeah, I think so too. I really liked his comedy special that came out on Netflix also. So I hope that he gets to do more stuff.
If you want a nice little primer on Eric Andre, I recommend going to YouTube and watching the dispatch he did at the Democratic and Republican conventions in 2016. The Republican one, he like interrupts an Alex Jones rally, and it's, oh my God, it's amazing. Alex Jones is like yelling, "Bring up the Daily Show guy! Bring up the Daily Show guy!"
Oh my God. Well,
there you go. All right, Jessy, you got a movie that sexy movie?
It's pretty sexy, yeah. Could be sexier, but I watched Barbarella, directed by Roger Vadim. I don't know. Stars Jane Fonda, and it came out in 1968. So Jane Fonda plays this like future, I don't know, space lady. I don't know if she's supposed to be an astronaut or like what her gig is exactly, but she comes from Earth. Oh, Zach's grandma hates Jane Fonda.
She calls her Hanoi Jane.
She's it's cute, though.
It's a very boomer reaction to it. Hanoi Jane, like come on.
Anyway, she's like a space lady from Earth in the far future, and I guess Earth is like totally different. And I don't really know how to explain the plot of the movie. She's got some mission, but we didn't have subtitles, and I kind of lost. I lost it. I wasn't paying attention or something. But she's landing on some distant planets, and she's got some stuff to do. She encounters this one man. There's like so much like sex as the plot in the movie. But you don't actually even see sex, which is what's weird. But like one planet she ends up on, she gets kidnapped by these little children. There's no way for me to like explain. I just have to tell the plot of the movie because it's just so bonkers. She gets kidnapped by these little children, and then this like very hairy chest man rescues her from the evil little children, who also, these little children, by the way, had her like hooked up to this contraption. And there's so many instances in the movie where she's just tied up. That's on purpose. I mean, it is bonkers. There's so many instances of the movie where they purposely just like tie her up, and then like her clothes get all ripped off and stuff. Like, whoopsie, there she does it again. And then these like children kidnap her and tie her up, and then have these like evil dolls like munching towards her, and they have these gnarly like silver metal teeth, and they're like chomping towards her. It's so crazy, man. And she gets all chomped up, and you feel kind of bad for her. But then this like really hairy chest guy comes and rescues her, and then he's like, "Oh, I rescued you," and she's like, "Yeah, thanks so much. That was really nice of you," and stuff. And then he was like, "We should just totally have sex," and she's like, "Huh, we don't really do that much on Earth. We just like touch hands instead, and like you can get the same experience." And he's like, "Well, let's just do the real thing." And she's like, "Whatever, I guess, dude." Like she was just kind of like, "Yeah, I guess." And then you can tell it blows her mind because she's never done it before, because on Earth all they do is touch hands. And then she ends up in this other planet where there's this like angel man, but he's blind, and she's got to like get him to help her walk across this like labyrinth to try to get parts to fix her spaceship. But he's really sad. He's a sad angel man, and he can't fly. So obviously she's got to cheer him up. So what do you think she does to cheer him up? You guessed it.
Cake. Bakes a cake.
She bakes a cake for him in his little nest. And then he's all cheered up. And then he flies off to try to help her get to the evil city. And then she gets like kidnapped again. Yep, thanks for that, Zach. Then she gets kidnapped again by this like sexy space lady. And then she's like, "I hate you, sexy space lady." And that space lady is like, "Ugh, Andrew says the description of Barbarella seems wild, but it is accurate. It is. It's just like, I don't even know how to explain this movie. And then the space lady is like, "I want to have sex with you." And she's like, "No, evil space lady." And then she gets kidnapped by the guy who's in charge of the city. And he's like, "I'm going to kill you to death with pleasure." And then he puts her in this big machine. And the machine is supposed to like kill her with pleasure. But then she kills the machine, man. And then she escapes. And...
What a metaphor. What a metaphor.
I don't know, man.
I'm going to say that my grandma has not watched Barbarella.
I'd say none of our grandmas. I could probably safely say none of our grandmas have watched Barbarella. I mean, it's obviously a sexploitation movie, but could it have been sexier? I think, yeah.
It's obviously.
I mean, they do show parts, but they never show sex, and it's goober.
You mean they show parts?
It's, you know.
Oh, parts. Okay.
Boob. They show boobs.
Boob.
It's weird. But if you just want to see Jane Fonda, like young Jane Fonda,
if you just want to see a boob.
If you just want to see young Jane Fonda in like the dopest space outfits ever, and just like transversing around space, trying to fix stuff, having sex with some hot guys, you know what? You've come for the right movie. And if you want more than that, well, I don't know what to tell you. Barbarella, directed by Roger Vadim. I think we watched on
I'm just laughing at. You want more than that? I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know what to tell you. Go watch something else.
It was fine. I gave it 3 stars, but it's a journey.
Barbarella.
That's all I got. Barbarita.
Barbarita.
Barbarita. Well, I would say you could watch it on the Criterion channel because I think it was on there. But it leaves. We're recording this on Wednesday. It leaves then. So I guess go to your local library and be like, "I would like the sexy movie, please."
I'm sure you could find it somewhere. It's probably on Amazon.
Pornhub?
Yeah. Probably not.
All right, Ash Crash.
You could probably unironically find some of the sex scenes from this movie on Pornhub. I watched Crash, not the shitty Sandra Bullock 2004 movie about racism, but the 1996 Crash, which is
Cronenberg?
directed by David Cronenberg. Yes, indeed. And I just tried to Google a few seconds ago how many sex scenes are in Crash 1996, and I couldn't quite find an answer, but believe me when I say it is a lot. I want to take a wild guess and say that there are at least 10 sex scenes in this movie. You get 3 in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie. Immediately after the credits, you have Holly Hunter bent over a car and just ejecting one boob from her bra and touching it to the car. And this is a motif throughout the movie of just one boob. You just see one boob.
Ejecting boob sounds weird.
Well, it wasn't like ejected. It was like she scooped it out.
She scooped it out, ladies and gentlemen.
She scooped it out of there.
Just plopped it on there.
Yeah. And
where was the other one?
It was still in her bra.
It was hanging out.
I don't know what I expected.
But it's a movie about this group of people who find each other, and they find that they have a common interest or fetish, which is that they're all extremely like sexually aroused, in that it's like almost like becomes an identity for them by car crashes. And it's like so extreme to the point of literally it's like these people's identity, they're like, they become like a polycule. It begins, the two main characters are played by James Spader and Holly Hunter, and I love James Spader, which was a big reason that I wanted to watch this movie. And they have a sort of like open marriage, and so they meet. Yes, indeed, they meet these after James Spader's in this terrible car accident. They sort of find each other.
Andrew called you out. The first scene.
Yeah, Andrew got you on a fact check there.
Oh, really? It's Kara Unger. There are a lot of blonde women. Okay, I'm sorry.
Wait. This is the guy you love?
Okay, he doesn't look like that in the 90s. But yes, that's him.
That is James Spader.
That's him. That's not what he looks like in the 90s though. Okay. But it's a really interesting movie in that it is so horny. It is perhaps the most horny movie I've ever seen in my whole life.
Oh.
It is quite disturbing in some points, because it's just so sort of out there. Not necessarily because it's like horror or anything like that. It's actually like it seems really realistic, but the sort of philosophy and the ideology of these people of being like, yeah, we have to like, oh, bye, Jessy. No. There you are. Come back. Just like after the, all of these people are like car crash victims or whatever, and this is sort of how they have found each other in a way. And it's sort of after their car crashes, it's almost as if they like I'm next.
You are next.
It's almost sort of as if they like transcend their like previous life, and they're like, now we have to fucking cars. Now we absolutely have to like, there's just like a number of things that happen throughout the movie that are like, we have to do these things now because it only makes sense now that we've had this experience. And there are sort of these breaks into like the philosophy of like a couple of the characters that are really, really out there. And I just like wanted to stop and rewind and just like, can I get that again? Because it's just like, whoa. But ultimately they just wanted to have sex. And they wanted to crash their cars. And so they did both of those things at the same time. But
weird.
It is an interesting movie as well because it feels like a pretty clear metaphor, allegory, I guess, for like some sort of like being a part of the queer community, or Andrew, I was talking to Andrew about it, and he mentioned like perhaps it was a metaphor for like the AIDS epidemic. Oh my God, a benevolent psychopathology beckons to you. This is a thing that one of the characters says in the about fucking in car crashes. Oh my God.
So when you say in car crashes,
yeah,
they're like doing it and then the car crashes, or like
so
they do it in the aftermath of a car crash? Like I'm
Or
confused.
they make the car crash.
So there's
With the
sort of different levels to this. This is another reason. This is another reason that the movie is sort of interesting, is because like at first it's like there's a character who is a sort of photographer, and he takes photos of like people's wounds that they've received from car crashes, and he sort of like gets off on that or whatever,
as you do.
and
Wait, did you say they get off on pictures of car crash wounds?
Yeah. Yeah. Or like at some point they're all together and they're watching like video of crash like test crashes, and they start like
weird fucking movies this week, you guys.
I know.
Yeah.
They're all watching a like video of a test crash and start like mutually masturbating each other as if it were like porn.
No.
And then they also like, they'll like have sex in cars. There's like a great car wash scene.
Like in Shark Tale?
Yeah, like in Shark Tale. Exactly like Shark Tale.
Wait, are you saying they have sex while the car's going through a car wash?
Yes.
I understand.
While watching Shark
I get
Tale.
Yeah.
I get it.
Anybody remember Shark Tale?
Yeah,
I do.
Oh, no.
Martin Scorsese is in that movie. Anyway,
Anyway, so
doesn't that movie have that song "Don't Worry About a Thing"?
Are we even gonna make it to the second part? Because I feel like I'm losing my mind.
We're only like 30 minutes in. This is a normal length for part 1.
Holy moly.
Anyway, so if you're into sex or car crashes, you should watch Crash, 1996, directed by David Cronenberg.
So, do you think that David Cronenberg himself is kind of a freak, or like, is he? Because this is not the first movie that he has had where people like have sex in a car. Like, Map to the Stars is about incest and also having sex in a car, and Robert Pattinson is in it. So,
isn't Cosmopolis or whatever it's called? Doesn't he have sex in a car in that too with Julianne Moore?
that's Map to the Stars.
Wait, what?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Is it just a different title?
I don't know. Zach, fact checker. You know, I'm pretty sure Map to the Stars is the one where it's Mia Wachowska.
Mia Wachicha.
Mia, Wisconsin.
Oh no, this is a different one. There's another one called I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Cosmopolis movie. And it is also David Cronenberg, and it also features Robert Pattinson. Oh, it's not Julianne Moore, it's Julia Binoche.
Okay.
And it's based on the Don DeLillo novel. But they have sex in a car.
All right. Anyways, so yeah, that my question is I don't know. It seemed like his later stuff.
Who's not had sex in a car? Come on.
Know. I don't. Not me, so I don't know.
Well,
I'm glad we covered this topic on the once we transition to video.
I know, so you could just see my face just shrivel up and be like, oh, what are we talking about?
This whole podcast, my face has just been like.
Oh no! The entire time, your face is in front of the camera, like.
Okay, can we?
All right, well, we're gonna wrap it up. So that as the car crash sex people did in Crash, we're gonna wrap this up, and we're gonna go into part 2. So we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be talking about Jiro Dreams of Sushi after this. That was a doozy. There was a lot going on there.
I thought it was great.
That was like, I'm like sweating.
We're still
I
alive.
need to take my cardigan.
Yeah, we're
off.
still alive.
I know.
Guys,
It is
how funny is this banner? Because I found it hilarious.
It's awful.
The car crash sex banner?
Yeah.
Wait, what tab is open right now? Brave? Oh, okay. God. I don't know. Sorry.
All right.
Can I make a cup of tea right now, even though we're live?
Yeah, I think Andrew signed off, so.
Wow.
Andrew, come on.
Andrew, if you can hear me now, come help me get ready for my recording in part 2.
I'm gonna make some tea.
If you can hear me now.
Why are you talking like you're locked in a closet?
Andrew, if you can hear me now, Andrew.
So did you see how funny this was when it was dark? Hold on.
Okay, so you're done with that?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna make a new track.
Look at this. It's fucking hilarious.
Wait, don't. Okay. And then I feel like you didn't do it.
Okay. It's cool. I'm wrong last time.
Why do I look like I'm high off my. I look so hot. Like, I'm not.
You look fine. Totally normal. Regular guy.
I gotta watch it because I forgot that Jessy will laugh really hard. And she'll
Where-
also react to the banners.
Whenever I was talking about Bad Trip, I just wanted to explain every prank. And I wanted to go through every one of them, but it's bad.
I like the one when they're at the Yeehaw bar and he like jumps and like crashes into that thing.
It's funny you say that, Jessica, because I really wanted to explain every sex scene in Crash.
Yeah.
Well, Jessy about
There's
explained every
one-
sex scene in Barbarella, so
I think I did. Yeah.
There's one where James Spader is having sex with his wife, and she's like, she's like talking
a
to
weird
him.
reaction.
She's talking to him, and she's like, she's talking about this guy who is like, and they're a group of like car crash people, and she's like, "Do you ever think about fucking him in his car? Can you picture his anus?"
Whoa!
Like,
I'm sorry, his lance?
his anus,
His lance. What the
and
hell?
like just going absolutely nuts. It's like every single thing she says, you're like, I cannot believe she just said that, and he's just like going. It's like, whoa.
I still haven't decided if I actually want to watch this movie or not.
I can't recommend it. I can't not recommend it.
You liked it. You
I
4
did.
stars it.
Yeah, I think it's a good movie. I think it's really strange.
I didn't like Videodrome.
I haven't seen it. This is my first Cronenberg experience.
What?
Yeah.
Hey, what's that noise? It sounds like somebody's vacuuming.
It's my tea kettle.
No.
Why does it sound like ocean noisemaker?
I don't know. It's right behind my computer, so.
I got this ball for anybody who's still watching.
Jessy, crack me up.
Whoa.
Pretty cool. People really got to watch this.
Annie's being so
Us
good now.
around?
Yeah, let's take this time in the break to shout out our patrons. Let's just start shit talking them, okay? So let's start off with Ron Hayes.
No.
Who the fuck is that guy?
You know what? I do have a bone pick with Ron. He didn't like Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. And that's
Yeah, and he didn't like the movie either.
I hope that he read the review that somebody wrote because it's a good review.
Yeah. All right. I just did that because I know he's watching right now. I'm sure he enjoyed the shout out. All right, let's go back to.
You're not gonna shout out anybody else?
Yeah, who else is watching?
I want to shout out Cam. Fuck that guy too.
What?
Playing cards with what did you say? Porg?
Porden.
Porden.
He's playing with Jordan. Playing
Oh,
cards with
Jordan. I thought you said Porden, and I was like, that's not a real name.
Porden is Paige and Jordan.
Yeah, but
Oh,
maybe not playing those cards.
still not a real name. All right, you guys ready? Y'all ready to rock and roll?
Yes, King.
Again.
I don't know why.
I like that. I didn't like that.
That was really funny.
That's on the stream now. That's good. I'm glad we got that going. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. And we are back with part 2 of episode 345 of Cinematary. In this part, we'll be continuing our food and movie series with 2011's Jiro Dreams of Sushi, which is directed by David Gelb, who people are probably most familiar with. He is the mastermind behind the Chef's Table series on Netflix.
Oh, really?
Which we will get
Yeah.
into in this episode because I
Which
do want to
makes
talk a little bit about
sense.
that. Mhm.
I didn't know.
The film follows Jiro Ano, an 85, now 95-year-old sushi master and owner of Sukiyabashi Jiro, previously a Michelin 3-star restaurant. Tsukiyobashi Jiro is a 10-seat sushi-only restaurant located in a Tokyo subway station, or at least it used to be. And the film also profiles Jiro's two sons, both of whom are also sushi chefs. The younger son, Takashi, left the restaurant to open a mirror image of his father's restaurant in Roppongi Hills, and the 50-year-old elder son, Yoshikazu, obliged to succeed his father, still works with Jiro and is faced with the prospect of one day taking over the flagship restaurant. As of 2014, Jiro Ano serves a tasting menu of roughly 20 courses for a minimum of 30,000 yen or $270. So get those wallets out if you're going to go to this restaurant. Gelb said he initially wanted to do a look at the restaurant and said he was inspired by BBC's Planet Earth and described what he wanted to do as Planet Sushi, which, all right. He said... He said, originally I was going to make a film with a lot of different sushi chefs who all had different styles. But when I got to Jiro's restaurant, I was not only amazed by how good the sushi was and how much greater it was than any other sushi restaurant I had ever been to, but I also found Jiro to be such a compelling character and such an interesting person. I was also fascinated by the story of his son, who is 50 years old, but still works for his father at the restaurant. So I thought, here's a story about a person living in his father's shadow while his father is in a relentless pursuit of perfection. It was the makings of a good feature film. Food critic Masahiro Yamamoto connected Gelb with Jiro, and principal photography took him 1 month in January of 2010, augmented by additional scenes shot later in that year in August, with editing taking 10 months, which, thinking about that, it's crazy that he shot all of that in 1 month. Gelb said he was a huge Philip Glass fan, which is why he included a lot of Glass's work in the film, saying, in hindsight, I think it works because Philip Glass's music is kind of a metaphor for Jiro's work ethic, because it is repetitive, but it also builds on itself and escalates. And it's the same with Jiro's work, because every day he's doing the same routine and trying to do everything exactly the same, but just reaching for that one step of improvement. And I feel like the music's doing the same thing, so they match perfectly. In an interview with Filmmaker Magazine, Gelb talked about the personal angle to the film, saying, I think we were both, Jiro and myself, surprised by how personal the movie became. I knew I wanted it to be about him, his work and philosophy, about sushi and life, but it was only in the editorial stages that I realized how much it was going to be about his family and his own personal history. The reason for that is that I think it makes the sushi making even more emotional when it's put in the context of his life. For example, the scene with the egg sushi, we depict one of Jiro's apprentices talking about his journey toward making the egg. He was there 10 years before they even let him try it, and then he had to do it 200 times before they said it was correct. Then when you see the egg being placed on the plate, you feel the emotion and drama that went into making this piece of sushi. I think that's the kind of feeling that makes the movie special. 2011, the LA Times said Jiro Dreams of Sushi isn't as elegant and tasty as the splendid sushi prepared by the man in the title, and that is saying a lot. The New York Times said, like many other such portraits, it wastes valuable time declaring its subject's excellence that could be spent fleshing out demonstrations, explanations, and context. And in 2011, Roger Ebert said, as a documentary about world-class sushi, this film is definitive. It runs only 81 minutes, but the subject is finite. On that note, let's talk a little bit about Jiro Dreams of Sushi. As we've done so far this series, Jessica, what about this movie seemed perfect for this series?
Yeah, so when I was thinking about what movies I wanted to put in the food series, this one automatically came to mind as something that portrays how you can have a passion for your art and for your craft, but it can also kind of consume you and take over your life. And I remember when I watched it for the first time, probably 5 or 6 years ago, I had never seen a food documentary film before. So it was the first time that I was immersed in people just repetitively making something that was so artistic and so beautiful as sushi is. And I think that was kind of the flashy object that was in front of my face, when I was watching the movie, because I was eating it up and I was I love this so much. And this guy is obviously very dedicated and he puts a lot of time and effort into this. And so, of course, like he deserves the recognition that he's getting. And, you know, I do remember thinking that it was a sad movie because it's really obvious that his sons are kind of just doing it to please him, and they weren't really given a choice in like pursuing anything that they wanted to do because he didn't want them to go to college. He wanted them to follow in his footsteps. And so I think now, like when I rewatched it, I think that sadness was like more apparent in the movie, especially since like now I'm a food business owner and I try to find a balance with like my work and my life. And like I wouldn't ever want to subject like someone I love to something like that. Like forcing them to do something just because it's what I want to do seems pretty terrible. And so like when I initially watched it, I loved the craft of it. I loved like the way that it was made and how it showed like the art of sushi, but there was like an undertone of like sadness. And now that I rewatched it, that undertone kind of took over the viewing experience, like more than appreciating the craft of watching him make it, and kind of led me to a few questions of like the documentarian isn't really exploring these kind of like darker sides of Jiro's like personality, where he's like letting his career take over and it's like kind of ruining the lives of everyone around him. And also Jiro being like pretty sexist, like obviously. And I saw somebody's Letterboxd review that was like, oh yeah, this guy is like shitty except for this one thing that he does. And then it just kind of like distracts you from like how shitty he is like as an actual human being. And
doesn't one of his kids say something like, yeah, I hated it for like the first 2 years or 5 years. I can't even remember the amount of time, but it was like way more of an amount of time than I feel comfortable feeling like shit all the time for.
Yeah.
I remember how.
And I think like we can talk about this in our discussion. I think that there is, so like obviously now revisiting, like I do not think that Jiro is like a great person. I think that he kind of is exemplifying the concept of like you have to suffer for your art, because like his career, his like sushi making, that's his art, that's his passion. And I think that he thinks that he has to sacrifice everything for that, and I don't really believe in that. Like as an artist and as like a maker, like I don't think that you have to do that. So like does that make this a bad movie?
It's a good question. I think no, it doesn't make it a bad movie. I think that because I think in a way, sorry that Annie is screaming right now.
Apologize for cat sounds.
She is in love with the cat outside.
As we all are.
I know. But I think that in a way, because of what comes after this, I love Chef's Table, and I had never seen this before until I watched it today. But I've watched Chef's Table and the other spin-offs created by the same people. I think there's one that's like Chef's Table baking or baker edition or something like that, like, or Chef's Table street food, and all of these. Like I love those shows. I love them. And so I'm very familiar with that. And so just seeing that form sort of in its early stages was for me really interesting. And so I feel like if nothing else, like that, like the creation of that form and like, and just like the spark of that idea for this, what's his name? David Gelb? Gelb, yeah. David Gleb. just that like that spark of an idea that sort of bloomed into something like truly awesome, because Chef's Table is like Chef's Table's like really sick, and like has developed from the stylistic things in Jiro Dreams of Sushi. Like it stylistically has evolved, and like is, I think, a lot more enticing and visually stimulating than this was. But I sort of saw the beginnings of where all that came from watching this, if that makes sense.
No, it's like, well, because it's on its own, it's not that bad. Because, you know, I'm the same way. Like I've seen a lot of Chef's Table, and I think when you sit there and watch like 10 episodes in a season, you know, of it, it becomes very repetitive, and it almost loses, you know, for a show about like the creativity and what is special about these chefs, it becomes really repetitive because it is like this same machine over and over and over and over again. And so it was interesting watch. This is the first time that I watched this since watching, you know, Chef's Table. And I think just on its own, as its own entity, it's fine. You know, it works really well. It's very effective. It's kind of, you know, it now it would be viewed as like the Chef's Table, like Netflix model of presenting like a food documentary. It's just like I think it's become very influential in that way, in terms of like how food documentaries are presented on, at least on Netflix. They all kind of have that Chef's Table feel to it. But here, I think it really works. I kind of was at the same place with Jessica, where I really like this movie. I think to answer the question that you posed, I don't think that a lot of that stuff makes it a bad movie. I think it's still a really interesting documentary, because the interesting thing that it does is that it really it deals with a lot of like blowing smoke up Jiro's ass for the first like 10-15 minutes, where it's just like he's amazing, and then it spends like the next 30-40 minutes where he's like gone. Like they really don't talk to him until like the last maybe 30 minutes or so of the movie. And it starts transitioning not only to like the son angle, but also just like the apprentices, like what Jiro means to other people. And, you know, I think, and we can talk about this just maybe a little bit later, but like, I think it's a kind of complicated thing, you know, like on one level, he's clearly incredibly good at like what he does. Like he is like a master sushi chef. But like, does that like it, like this movie's all about like weighing those two things. Like, yes, he's a master sushi chef, but he's also like a monumental asshole who clearly like did not, like the family side of things, he did not handle really well. But at the same time, he was incredibly passionate and like was just driven by like what he wanted to do. Like there was nothing necessarily inherently evil or wrong with like wanting to be a really good sushi chef. Like there was nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, like it feels like he kind of forced his sons into doing this, you know, thing. And so I think it handled that like kind of that, you know, seesaw effect of like whether because I don't think he's necessarily a bad person. He's not an evil, terrible person. He didn't handle things well, at least in, you know, at least in my opinion, when it came to his family and a lot of that other stuff. And I don't think you have to, me personally, don't think you have to go those levels to like achieve the levels of greatness that he wanted to achieve. Because you think about it now, I mean, Jessica mentioned it off mic, but you know, he lost his Michelin stars because they like shifted like where the restaurant is and stuff like that. You know, he like reached
they
this
closed it to the public.
They closed it to the public.
It's even more exclusive than it was before, which was like, that was the other thing, is they were saying like, we're not trying to be exclusive, but when you like only have 10 seats and your price tag is so high, then yeah, you are trying to be exclusive.
Yeah, and I've heard like you have to, even if it was like not exclusive like it is, you had to book years in advance to go. Like years in advance to go. So if you You have to be thinking about a trip to Tokyo if you don't live in Tokyo years in advance, and it's just a mess.
Yeah,
just
and,
to
like,
go to a restaurant.
Yeah, and like I believe that like there is something to like if you're making something of high craft level but like then you can charge those kinds of prices that you want, but it feels like extremely exclusive and very much like it kind of pained me a little bit to see that customer who walks in and he's like very timid and is just asking genuine questions about the restaurant. And then he's like, do you do appetizers? And they're like, no, we only focus on the sushi, no appetizers. And he was like, okay, well, are you guys like, are you taking reservations? And they're like 1 month in advance. And he's just like, okay, can I have a pamphlet? And they're just like scaring this guy.
No.
And it just makes it like so inaccessible to people, which is like, like, and there are lots of restaurants that do that. There are lots of Michelin star restaurants that do that. That's not new. But to see those things in addition to the fact that he kind of like ruined his children's lives, like that kind of like adds another layer to it. Also, when he was like, yeah, if you're a woman, I give you less sushi than I give to the men. And I was like, excuse me, I eat the same amount of sushi as any man. And if I am paying that much money, your ass better be cutting me the same amount of fish that you are giving to the men in the room. That was some bullshit that like lit me on fire when I
wonder how much
watched
sushi
that
he'd
part.
give me.
Jiro would just be like,
I don't
Come
know.
What
in
is
a
it?
trench coat and like a fake mustache and be like, here for the sushi.
now, to play devil's advocate, did he ruin his kids' lives? I mean, I don't think
He
that they.
told them not to go. He straight up told them not to go to college.
Okay,
They
but
were-
that's different than ruining their lives. I don't think he ruined their lives. Now, he didn't necessarily give them a choice in terms of like what they wanted to do, because clearly Yoshikazu wanted to be a pilot and a race car driver because he loves to drive fast, as he said.
Yeah.
But I don't think he ruined his life, because think about the last.
He
But like,
straight
think
up
of
told
the
them,
last part of the
if
movie,
you
though.
fail, you cannot come home. He was like, if you fail at what you're doing, you cannot come home. And he wasn't even there when they were children. Like, if this was a thing where he was like a great father and was in their lives and was like, okay, I'm still putting this expectation on you, but he wasn't even there when they were growing up. He admits, he's like, I was not a good father. I wasn't there. I was
The
not
fact
there.
that
Okay, so he was a
says-
shitty dad. He didn't ruin their lives.
And it also says
they're
in
cooking
the movie
they're cooking
that-
sushi at a 30,000 yen minimum restaurant. Like,
It
he's a
also-
chef at it. Like, he's fine.
Okay, my thing is like, if there is no passion behind that, then it's pointless. Like, who cares how much money they're making? And like, if they're
But they
not,
don't see. He doesn't seem to hate it. At least, I mean, I don't know. We're just
they're
watching the
dead-
documentary.
They are dead inside, and this is like a cultural thing too, because they're doing what is expected of them for the good of the family unit, and that is not something in the West that we focus on. Like, our thing is like American dream individual. They're doing things for the greater good of the family unit, and that is like something that they think that they have to do. It's their duty. They have to like bring honor to their family. Like, this is the whole thing with like Asian families where it's like,
well, it says it in the movie.
You have
says,
these like expectations on you. Yeah, because like his father came from nothing. Like, Jiro came from nothing and created this thing, and now he puts this pressure on his children to continue what he has created, but it's like not their responsibility.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, to me, I think the documentary like does a great job of sort of displaying the like sort of teasing you with sympathy for Jiro almost, because like in the beginning it's like, oh, you know, he has this work ethic, and oh, you know, his sons are, you know, here and they didn't necessarily want to be, and look like, you know, you thought he would have retired by now, but no, his son's 50 and he's still here, you know, whatever. And then it drops that thing in of, oh, you know, Jiro was like on his own totally at like age 7, which is insane. And you're like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, I totally sympathize for him. And like the fact that he built this all by himself, and he's talking like, oh, you know, you just have to work hard and that's how you earn your honor. And you're like, I almost understand, you know, you're like, I almost get it. Or like, at least I understand why you feel that way.
Yeah.
Because you like did do this or whatever. But it's such like a, first of all, like, capitalistic mindset of like, if you just work hard, it'll all pay off. Yeah. And second of all, like, it's surprising to me that someone who experienced like a parent like quote unquote failing and like being I don't, you know,
well, it's like the nature nurture thing. I mean, like look at, they go into his past and like you said, he was on his own at age 7. His dad just kind of rolled out. Like, how to a degree, how can we expect him to be like, to know what to do the right way?
Why would he be interested in this like enriched life full of like meaningful like experiences and like meaningful
but he's never,
like, relationships?
He's never been presented with that himself. So like, how would he know to like? And so I'm not giving him a pass on it, but at the same time, it's like, how would he know like what to do?
I'm surprised though that like someone who was not like afforded like opportunity or rest or fun or you know, anything like that growing up, you know, it seems like he was at least doing okay by the time he had kids. It's, you know, it's surprising that he
got married.
Well, he was not doing okay when he had kids. They talked about that. They had no money.
Oh, right. They only had like $25 or yen in the bank or whatever. But it's like, I don't know. It's just like
I'm not absolving him. I'm just saying that like
it's an interesting case study.
It's I get it. Like he's very good at his job, but and to what Jessica was saying actually at the top, it is kind of a sad movie because you think about that, like, so he's the best sushi chef in the world. Boom. Like, there you go. But then you like look at like what does that mean? Because as they talk about, whenever he retires or he dies, and Yoshikazu takes over, they say there's always like, just in Japanese food culture, there's kind of this thing where once the father chef or whoever dies and like the son takes over, people stop going there because they're maybe not invested in the son. So like that literally, like the minute he does that, all of this stuff that he's accumulated goes away. And then when all that stuff goes away, he has, you know, he's probably aware that he has no family life and he has not developed anything outside of this. And so his whole life is completely tied to this. And he did that all himself. So it's not like we can sit there and be like, oh, you know, sorry, Jiro. But at the same time, it's just kind of sad that like he's invested all this time. He's so good at this. He's clearly passionate, and there's something admirable and you know, compelling about that. But, you know, at the end of the day, that'll kind of wash away and disappear. And then what do you got left? I think that's kind of the takeaway, at least for me watching the movie, is like, all of this is great, but if you don't like actively try to build stuff outside of that, that's like lasting, like what's the point of becoming the best sushi chef in the world?
I just can't imagine. I can't put myself in the headspace of wanting to be at work doing your thing all day long every single day.
Mhm.
Are you kidding?
Well,
Yeah.
so like,
No.
and that is the thing. That is the thing with this movie now that kind of hits different with me is that like I love the beginning of. So I think this is a good movie, and even if you don't agree with Jiro, like as a person or his philosophy on life, I think that it's an interesting like case study of a person and of a chef and of an artist.
Mhm.
And so I still really enjoy the movie because it does pose all of these questions.
Mhm.
But like as a person who like I love the beginning of it when it opens. It's like when you're a journalist and you're interviewing a subject and they say you ask them a question and they give you a quote and you're like, this is it, this is the pull quote. And he says the movie opens with him saying like, I love sushi so much, I'm passionate about this that I dream of it. I see it in my dreams and this is what I care about. And like there are so many times where I will be laying in bed like about to fall asleep and I'll be like, what if I take a matcha cookie and make it into like a thumbprint cookie and like put strawberry jam in the middle of it? And it's like me just like thinking of new things that I can make or new things that I can bake. And it just like, I have to get up immediately and like write it down. And it's just like, it's like an all consuming thing in a good way. It's like you're thinking about it all the time and you want to put all this effort and all this time into it. And like, I will work myself to death, like baking because it's what I love to do. And I'll be covered in flour and like my arms will be hurting because I've been rolling dough for 5 hours straight and like making hundreds of pies and spending all this time on it, but it's because I love to do it. And then, but like, there's always a part of me that is like, I don't want to only talk to my friends about my baking. I don't want to you don't want to subject someone to this, what's happening in your head. And I think that that's not really a notion that Jiro has. I think that he does think that he has to like only talk about sushi with his friends and family, like only tell them about what his goals are and make them follow suit as well. And that is just, it's sad. Like it's sad to me. And that's what really comes through with the movie is just how sad that is.
Does it ever say what happened to his wife?
She's there. She's just never in the movie.
Is she alive?
They mention her and she's just at home. Like they say something about him going home to his wife in the movie, and I was like, cool. She wasn't even mentioned.
Couldn't get one.
She's like, what? She didn't show up. She's not even in the restaurant. And her whole family is in this restaurant and she's not even there.
I wish I could have just got her saying like, yeah, I miss them. I wish like
I miss them. I wish they weren't consumed by sushi for their whole lives.
I mean, did you see even for like lunch they were eating sushi, like at the restaurant, like they were eating sushi for lunch. It was just like, guys, this is what we are.
Testing, and they're always like checking quality of ingredients and like improving on their methods, and like that's the thing that I love. The thing that I love the most about this movie is that it came out in 2011, and like how many people in America in 2011 understood the dedication and craft when it comes to sushi making in Japan, and how seriously they took it, and how people had to train for 10 years before they even sliced a fish. Like how many people knew that? Like that's what I love the most about the movie, is that it just showed, like it truly is a love letter to the art of sushi making, like period, end of story, you know?
I also, this was something that kind of stuck out to me on this watch was, it's not only like the passion of Jiro or the other chefs or his son or, what have you. It's also like the guy selling fish the guy selling shrimp, the guy selling rice. Like you just have like all these other people who
Goes
have
all
like
the way down, man.
yeah, like all these other people with their different trades who like to me that was inspiring like because they're just like yeah I'm super passionate about this fish that I sell and it's and you know it's
Got
just
a little
kind of,
environmental there for a minute too, like talking about how we're like eating too many fish. And
yeah
stuff.
like it's just like it's like you know you may like qualify that as like not an important thing necessarily but like to me that's super inspiring and nice to see like this dude just he sells fish and he's super passionate about it like that's great like you if you were gonna buy fish you'd want it from the dude who's like super passionate about it is like wanting to do the best by it. And so to me I kind of like those like people on the outside who they would talk to in the documentary just because those are always the most interesting to me. Like, you know, Jiro is one thing, but his name's in the damn movie. So it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And you also like see a guy who I think it's the guy who sells wasabi or like vegetables or something. And his son like goes to that guy and he's like, how are you doing? And he's like, not good. He's like, I'm tired. I want to retire. Like, he's like, I'm so over this working thing that I am just like
I don't remember this
done.
guy.
And it was so like I liked that he was in the documentary because it showed like not every person is like Jiro. Not every person in Japan was like, oh, I can't wait until like I have to do this all day every day until I die. Like that guy's like, I want a vacation. He's like, I just want to like drink a beer and like relax at my house.
I just want a Mai Tai on the beach for God's sake. I'm here giving you fucking fish.
I don't know, man. Maybe this year is just a flux and like COVID, after COVID ends someday, I won't feel this way. But like, I like my job fine. But it's 3:15, I'm very done. I'm ready to be.
I want to I want to talk a little bit about we talked about it at the top but like this is the guy who you know created and kind of shepherded Chef's Table which again I think is a pretty at least in terms of like when it came out to now is a pretty influential like food documentary content kind of thing you know I think a lot of people kind of take from that. I mean you even have the parody of this movie and documentary now with Fred Armisen. You know, I think it's something that is now how a lot of people are, you know, a lot of people engage with Chef's Table on Netflix. And so to you, you know, I guess question for the group, I mean, what, you know, what does that mean to you? Do you feel like this is kind of a nice way or a good way of like presenting you know these creative passionate people or is there you know I think there is a little bit of like a cookie cutter soullessness if you're just kind of you know packaging every chef in the same way and every you know series in the same way if this is the way you're going to do everything that kind of takes the life out of it.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of ways. I think there are a couple of different types of like food TV shows these days. Like Chef's Table, I kind of like fluctuate with them. Like when I watch Chef's Table, if I want to see like very minimalistic, like fancy type of dishes, and I want to like learn the story behind like certain chefs that I care about or that I know, and like thank God there are women chefs who are being highlighted in Chef's Table because like for a long time it was very much like a man's game, a man's club where like they weren't showing any women or women chefs or anything like that. So I think Chef's Table Chef's Table is really great because it's great now because they're like doing more with it and kind of like showing a variety of artists, not just like Michelin star like male chefs. So I think that part of it is good. But like I myself, when it comes to like food TV shows, like I don't want to just watch like, to be frank, fancy shit all the time. Like sometimes I want to watch diners, drive-ins, and dives where like Guy Fieri is like, hey, I just rolled up to this like bowling alley and they're making like fried rice, like let's check it out. Yeah, and like that I think that there are like different levels of like what I want to consume in terms of like food content or food TV shows. But like, it's really cool because now these are actually like two Japanese fiction shows that are kind of trying to break away from the like cultural idea in Japan that you're like tied to your work and that it's like soulless and that you can't really enjoy it. And that is Kantaro is like, it's like a sweets. He like goes to dessert shops and he's like a salesman, but he goes to all these like dessert shops on his breaks and like eats desserts and blogs about it. And it's like his passion on the side that he's doing and he loves it, but he's like, he just does his job to make money and to pay the bills. And then he goes and pursues this like dessert blogger passion of his. And then the other one is Samurai Gourmet, which is about a little old Asian like bald man who retires and then decides, I'm just gonna fart around and eat good food and drink beer like during the day. And they take you to all the restaurants that he goes to, and he just like has this samurai persona that follows him around, and it's very fun. So go watch those food shows; they're great too.
I don't watch any food shows, so I have nothing to contribute here.
Well, like my question to you guys is, did you find them making the sushi, because it is very repetitive. You see them slicing the fish and cooking the rice and toasting the seaweed. You see those things over and over again. That's kind of like the movie's B-roll whenever they're like playing certain things. So like, as people who like sushi, was that like very appetizing to you? Like, were you like, oh yeah, I want to eat this tuna, or like, yes, I want to like eat this? Because like my partner Cam he does not like sushi. He does not eat it, and he thought that part was like, so like, he was just like, yeah, I mean, this doesn't feel the same way to me because I do not want to eat any of that. Like, none of that looks like appetizing to me. So in a way, that the movie is kind of like relying on that, like relying on you being like, you know, drawn to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat sushi really because I don't eat fish, but I do think it looks appetizing. I love the look of it. I think sushi looks beautiful. And so it did look appetizing to me, but I think the repetition of it, like just sort of placing, I think after a while it was like, it all just sort of started to look like the same thing to me. But I mean, it looked good. Like if I'm looking at a piece of sushi, like I think it looks good. I'm not going to eat it though.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm having a hard time kind of trying to articulate it, but I mean, I do eat sushi. I do love sushi. I don't know that I feel like this movie really, really goes out of its way to just get us a lot of like hot shots of the sushi. I mean, it's in there, but I don't know. There's also a lot of him just like holding some fish over like an open flame, like sizzling that up. A lot of shots of that. There's just something about it that maybe it was the cinematography. It wasn't quite as visually stunning as I kind of thought. I guess I've just heard so much about this movie that I didn't dislike it really, but I wasn't as wowed by it. Like visually, I think maybe the story is the most interesting, but then the story is kind of about this guy who's a little unrelatable for me. I don't know. There's a disconnect for me there. I think that the sushi does look. I mean, I would eat it, but I'm never going to eat it. So there's also that layer of like, it's like a movie about the best movie in the world, but only like a handful of people are going to be able to watch it. So it's like good for them, you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think there's a level of, you know, we talked about like the kind of insane measures that they take, but there is like, I feel like there is something to, if you want to do something really well, like you have to like instill some sort of like discipline to it. And so there's something really kind of remarkable about the not only the amount of discipline that Jiro has, but like what he's kind of passed on to his apprentices and everybody else who's worked with him. That, you know, if again, you may feel like it goes over the line and overboard at times, but I think, you know, like there was something really, I mentioned it in the notes because they made reference to it, but there is something really moving about the guy who's talking about how it took him 10 years to do the you know, to like properly do the egg. And then like he talks about, he's telling the story about how like Jiro tells him that he did it correctly. And he's like, I wanted to like pump my fist and like cheer, but I kept it cool, you know.
He cried. I think he cried.
Yeah. And he cried. But, you know, it's like, it's because he's been sitting there practicing it. And, you know, I think that that's something that you kind of have, like, you know, is not the most, I think it's tough to dramatize that, you know, it's tough to dramatize like that, you know, work ethic, you know, that's not something, unless you're going to do like a Rocky montage, you're not going to capture that. And I think that this movie does a good job of you get a feeling of that, because I think that the director is correct when you hear him tell that story and then it shows the shot of him putting it down on the plate. Like you feel like you've gone kind of full circle with like what it took to get to that point. And on that level, it's you know, incredibly impressive.
I guess I just feel like I'll never feel that passionate about anything, and I don't know if that's like bad. No, or no. But
I was gonna say, if you want a dramatization of someone achieving a food goal, then you should watch Tampopo, because I mean, basically he did dramatize like making the perfect ramen. So there you go. But yeah, like I could see how if you kind of like don't relate to like just having one goal and like literally sacrificing like everything for it, that it is like hard to latch onto the movie as like something relatable. Which Cam was having a hard time doing. Like Cam was like, this guy's a jerk, and I get it. Like I get that he, you know, is trying his best, but also he like ruined all of the lives of the people like around him. So, and then you have me coming in like, yeah, but he had a dream and he was like, you know, trying to do that dream and it got out of hand, but he was trying his best. And like, I kind of wonder if, because this is kind of, the format is like kind of a standard documentary format and does, you know, stylistically. So I wonder if the director tried to have more of a push and pull, like a more critical eye on that aspect, like if it would have helped viewers that kind of felt like that. I don't know.
Possibly. I mean, you always think about that when it comes to documentaries, that it's not like they're not always just kind of sitting there just like being an unengaged observer. I mean, I think you want to believe that like that's happening. You know, I think that you get that to an extent. You know, you think of something like Harlan County, like Barbara Koppel's involved in that, even though she's not involved in that, she's still involved in like what's happening on screen there. And I think that in this one, there is like what you're describing is kind of how he's involved in that, because he's kind of, it's probably something that they've all thought about, but they've never really like verbalized or seen in the way, and by taking it and kind of processing it in like a dramatic fashion, it probably was something that was they were just like, oh, you know, that like it was kind of the quiet part was said out loud.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because kind of when you're naturally following somebody around, I think that those types of things will come to light like kind of on their own. And one of the things the documentary does that I think is really great is it kind of gives you that twist at the end where you find out that when the Michelin inspector like ate at the restaurant, the person who made his sushi was the son.
Mhm.
And so the twist is that like it got 3 stars, not even based off of Jiro. It was based off of his son. And so his son is already there. He is already at the level where that should be his restaurant, but because his father is still alive, he just like can't do it.
Yeah. I wonder how much the younger son's restaurant charges.
He
He
said
said
cheaper.
less. Yeah, he said
I
less.
know he didn't
because it was,
specify
like,
though.
not as good or
I would
whatever.
go there.
So
I wonder if it's still like over $100.
Probably.
I don't know, but that poor family, everybody's balding. Nobody can hold on to a head of hair. That was truly sad. That's really the saddest part of the movie.
Oh my god. Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Well, that will wrap up this episode of Cinema. On that note, that'll wrap up this episode of Cinematary. You can find us at facebook.com/cinematary, on Twitter and Instagram at @cinematary, and on Letterboxd at letterboxd.com/cinematary, where we post all the movies that we talked about in this episode, or at least attempted to talk about. I can't say that we really covered stuff in part 1. I'll be honest. If you're watching this live, thank you for supporting us on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/cinematary if you would like to watch the live streams of these podcast episodes as they happen. If you don't catch them live, they will be on YouTube, youtube.com/cinematary, where we post the episode video afterwards. But thank you to our patrons: Cam, Chad Newsom, Christina Daughtry, Corey Willingham, Harry Eskin, Candace Sisson, Maggie, Ron Hayes, Titus Arthur, Tyler Chandler, and Whitney Rio Ross. Thank you so much for your patronage. Next week, we will be concluding our food and movie series with 2018's Little Forest.
Yes. Cottagecore energy. Let's go.
Get ready to eat some flowers, y'all.
Eat some flowers, y'all.
Eating some flowers. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Thank you, live stream, Andrew.
Oh, is it just Andrew?
Yeah,
Who else was there before?
it's just Andrew.
Nobody.
All right, I'm
Are we
shutting it
still live?
off.
Oh.